Giver's Handbook, a self-help love story. Guys, you know that we always try to bring you entertainment. We try to bring you guests that are relevant to what you're considering and thinking about in life, and today is no exception. Our motto on the show is everybody's looking for a hero. If you can't find one, be one. And Marlene Rose Vigil is one of those people. She's not just a community activist, a business leader in the community, but she's someone who really actively goes out and pursues opportunities to help people, and that's really a wonderful thing that I really appreciate. I want to talk about our next guest. Before we go on, we're going to be having Brigitte Mars, who is an herbalist, been 50 years in the industry. She wrote a book on mental health. This is, I think, her 12th book, but it's on mental health and herbs, and man, it's going to be a great show, so make sure you stick with us. I was gone 2 weeks ago. It was my granddaughter's first birthday. I apologize for that, but guys, I'm so glad to have you with us today, and with that, we're going to go ahead and get started talking to today's hero. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's very good to have you.
I'm excited.
So, you are not just a realtor, but you also have other ways that you help people out.
Yes.
And one of the things that really, has been at times in my life very important was, restoring my credit because I had made some bad decisions. And, we're going to talk about a lot of things today, but what I want to start out with is, talk about your service that you offer in the credit repair service.
Okay. Carinosa Financial Solutions is the name of my company. Carinosa is my corporate name, but I offer real estate and credit and financial solutions, and most importantly, education. Back in 2007, I was the admin for one of the top producers, real estate producers here in the city. And 2007, Colorado was having this upheaval, and our clients were just having a heck of a time, especially on the credit side. And I kept, in my gut, I just knew that there had to be something. There had to be a solution. And I searched out, found the education, got myself certified, and ever since I have been in the community teaching people the truth and factual stuff about credit.
Mm-hmm. As I said earlier, there's times in our lives when we may have a lull, and we may have a point where we were not able to pay some bills and our credit was damaged, and sometimes you may be that person and you may be feel helpless and feel like there's no solution, but honestly there is. Marlene, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and find your services, tell me, where would they go?
Well, first of all, you can go to Facebook, which is Carinosa Real Estate Credit and Financial Services. And my phone number directly is 303-564-3248. I am just in the process in the last month expanding my business into financial education, so my website isn't quite up yet and ready to fly, but those are the two direct contacts.
Very good. So guys, if you're in a situation where you really need some assistance, you don't have to just be local, right? If someone's in another state,
all over the country.
That's what's beautiful about this.
This credit stuff helps us all over the country.
Mm-hmm. And so we know that there's people that are tuning in from Texas. We know there's people tuning in from Kansas. We know there's people tuning in from all over the country and all over the world. And so please, if you are in a situation right now, this is really a good option for you, a good opportunity for you to really get back on your feet and and really grasp and gain the things in this world you're wanting to do.
The solutions are simple. You just have to know it's a game. This credit system is a game, and if you don't know the rules of the game, we're going to fall into it, and we fall in the holes. I've done it in the past. My husband and I were in a situation 10 years ago. He had to have a aorta valve replacement.
Wow.
And so he's out of work for 4 months or so. Well, I could take care of the monthly bills, but then started coming the medical bills.
Oh man.
And I just knew from my background and from my education that this was a whirlpool that we were not going to be able to get out of. And so we both made the decision to file bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy. And We had it dismissed. We each had Chapter 7s, and within 6 months after that bankruptcy was filed and placed on our credit report, that bankruptcy was permanently and legally removed from the credit report.
Well, man, did you hear that? Say that one more time.
The bankruptcy was permanently and legally removed from the credit report. And all this has to do is with, there is a federal law called the Fair Credit Reporting Act, back from 1971. It's our consumer protection law. We have rights under that law. And I believe that it's not readily taught, and people know about it, because they don't want us to know about it. The game is, how much money can they get out of our pockets into their pockets, the creditors and the credit agency.
You ever see these videos on TikTok or Facebook and they say, these are things they don't want you to know? This is one.
This is a big one, because credit affects every piece of our daily business, even we're not aware of it, whether it's getting a new phone, getting service, trying to rent an office for your business or a home,
or even buying auto insurance.
All insurances, they all check credit.
They're all linked to your credit. Isn't that a scam? Doesn't that seem like just like an excuse to give more of a bill to you, charge you more money?
That's exactly what it is. And these credit agencies, what they do is they play the game with creditors. Now, let me go back and tell you, too, that anybody can put anything on your credit report. You don't have to be a creditor.
Wow.
You just have to have a Social Security number.
Wow.
But this federal law has a mandated process that whoever's trying to put something on your credit report, good or bad, they have to follow this process. Now, here's a loophole. Is the gatekeepers, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, they don't follow the process.
Wow.
Because we, general public, don't know enough about it to even bring it up or know that they're doing this. They just automatically, their clients are the creditors pay a fee. They say, put this on this person's credit report.
Wow.
They don't verify they got the right person or the information is correct.
Wow. So they can manipulate your whole life.
And the longer they keep something on a credit report, the longer that affects our credit and affects our money that gets taken out of our pocket.
Wow.
Have you ever heard about the negative items stay on your credit report for 7 to 10 years? And everything I share with you today, don't just take me as another voice talking about credit, because I think I kid, but it's true. We learn about credit from voices. You know, this happened to my brother-in-law, you know, with his credit cards, or this happened to one of the guys at work, whatever, but nobody sits down and tells you about it. So this 7 to 10 year timeline, there is no law that any negative item has to stay on your credit report for 10 minutes, much less 7 to 10
So we have a lot more control over that than we realize.
Absolutely.
Wow. So if somebody was in that position right now, and I'm sure there's someone out there listening, what do they do? Where do they start?
Well, they got to start by getting education. They can't just, I've been to so many credit classes, and 9 times out of 10, they're just telling you the surface pieces of this credit game.
Wow.
They don't get down to the nitty-gritty. That's where I come in. I want to tell you the truth. I want to tell you how about this law works. I want to tell you what your rights are. I want to tell you and teach you how to use your rights. Let me give an example. I do it in class. So let's say I go down the street and I rob the 7-Eleven, and they arrest me and they take me off to jail. And I get before a judge and they haven't read me my Miranda rights, which is a federal law. What happens to me?
You're released.
I'm walking.
You're walking.
Did I commit the crime?
Yes.
Yeah. But my rights have been violated in the processing of me. It's the same thing. I equate it to the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Wow.
There is a certain process that needs to be done before anything, but we'll just talk negative stuff now, before anything goes on your credit report, anything. If that didn't happen, and if the credit agencies do not have the documentation to show that all of that paperwork was done prior to putting that bankruptcy or the foreclosure or the late fee or the repossession. Doesn't matter what the negative item is.
Mm-hmm.
If those credit agencies don't have the actual documentation to prove to you that that was followed, according to that law, that item can permanently and legally be removed from the credit report.
Things they don't want you to know. That is profound.
Lots of people also talk when, have come to me and says, well, that doesn't work, and it's so hard for this. It's not. It's simple, but it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a 30-day fix. It's not a quick fix. You have to be tenacious. You have to have somebody. You can do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to research and see how to prep challenges and how to connect them with that law.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the services that I offer. So that's an option. But I mean, you can do it yourself. You don't need anybody to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I always think I can do my oil change, right? But I don't want to. I'm getting somebody else to do that oil change.
That's right. You know what? I lived in my house 7 years and I mowed my lawn one time. There's things that you do and there's things that you have someone else to do.
Right. Right.
And that's one of them. You
Yeah.
know. We were talking earlier, before the show, and we were talking about trust. And I'm getting ready to go talk to a lawyer about a trust, because a will is not estate planning, is not planning an efficient way if you should die. And I don't want to get off track too much, but it's so important that you understand the difference between a will and a trust. It's so important that you understand what your options are, no matter where you are, whether it's to correct your credit or whether it's to plan your the end of life. It's so important that you, if you're not savvy, that's me, that you surround yourself or associate yourself with people who can resolve those issues in your behalf.
That's why I expanded my business into financial information, financial education. You've got to get the education. You've got to know the pieces of it before you're able to make your own decisions about what you need to do. And you're right about the will. People think, oh, well, I don't have anything to leave in a will. You don't have to be wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote wealthy. You don't have to own property. You want your things and what you own and what you have, and especially if you have children,
Mm-hmm.
minor children, you want to know that what's being done for them is the very best for them, and how you want that all created for them after your passing.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't going to happen unless you have a will, and a trust is a documentation where you are creating a separate entity. You still own the house, you still own the car, but it's in a trust, and officially that entity owns that property.
What's the advantage to that, Marlene?
The advantage to that is that you pass away, the items that you own, the property that you own, as I said, the different things that you have that you want to pass on are in a trust.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put rules and regulations about how that money is going to, or how that item is going to move on to your beneficiaries.
So that ensures that item, that property, whatever it may be, whether it's a set of silverware or a house,
Doesn't matter.
that is going exactly where you want it.
Exactly where you want it, and how you want it.
And how you want it to the T.
Exactly.
Now, how does this differ from a will?
Well, a will tells you, a will puts down all the rules and your beneficiaries, and it has all that information. The trust is just taking it to another step.
It supersedes.
And takes that ownership officially and puts it into an entity that you control.
Mm-hmm.
And that entity you don't own it.
Mm-hmm.
You control it, but you don't own it. So if you need help later on in life, if you need help with medical,
Mm-hmm.
If you need help with long-term care, that entity owns the property, and those medical devices and services cannot take that trust into consideration as
That
far
trust
as
is
how much,
separate.
as what you own. That's right. They're separate items.
And, you know, I wanted to just briefly talk about that because, you know, after I leave here, I'm going to a nursing home. A very dear friend of Dee, my wife, and our friend had a stroke here 2 months ago or a month ago, and she's in a nursing home right now. And she has complete amnesia, but she did not prepare. And so she owned a house, and her daughter and granddaughter live in the house. We're living in the house with her. And now, because they're going to have to put her in a nursing home, we're looking at $10,000 a month. She has a house that's almost paid for. But because she didn't have any kind of a trust or financial planning, she is now going to have to forfeit that home. Her daughter's going to have to forfeit that home so that they could pay those expenses.
Right.
And so it's so critical. Yeah, what if it costs you $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000? Guess what? $10,000 a month is a lot more than $6,000 at one time.
$6,000 a month.
And I use that number just arbitrarily.
Right, and it doesn't have to cost like that. It just depends on who you find, who you trust to help you with those situations. Essential piece of knowing about money. I teach people how money works, and that's one of the pieces.
And see, I'm one of these people that was never raised in money. You know, my mom was very poor. We were poverty stricken. I mean, we didn't even have a key to our door in our home. I mean, that's how poor we were. And we lived in a poor neighborhood. But I was never educated on the essentials of financial survival. And so having someone like you makes everything so much more, so I don't want to say simplified, but so much more palatable.
And understandable.
Understandable.
So you have so you feel empowered with some knowledge that you get about what you're trying to do and how you're trying to use your money for your purposes,
Yes.
for your best, and not be handing this out to other entities.
To the state.
To the state.
Yeah.
To creditors.
I don't want someone coming in, swooping in, and taking all of what I've raised, what I've worked hard to
Exactly.
accomplish.
Well, it needs to be protected.
Yes, and so, guys, I mean, consider this. This is really critical. So, you know, first we've talked about, you know, if you're in a bad place with your financial credit, there's solutions.
Absolutely.
If you're in a point where you're coming toward the end of life or not towards the end of life, it's really important that you lay out, do some planning, whether it's fiduciary planning, whether it's through an attorney or through someone who gives you some financial education. It's critical because you may leave this world and not care about everything, but you know what? Everything you had remains.
That's right. That's right. And you know, schools do not get you ready for life. Schools give us information that they put into us, we regurgitate that information back onto us, and then you're out in life trying to figure things out, and you know nothing about how real life happens.
Yeah.
One of them is credit. One of them is learning how money works. You know, again, people think you have to have a whole lot of money to be able to have your money grow and work for you. It doesn't matter if you've got $10 or $50 or $100. There are ways that money can grow, savings, and there's lots of options that money can grow and move you into a safer place when it comes to your money.
Yep.
Either you have control over your money or you let that money control you. You have to decide.
Oh man, thank you for that. Hey guys, if you're just joining us, you are watching KUHS The Stream on Melody Drive. This is the Weekend Boost, and we're talking today to Marlene Rose Vigil, and we're talking about money. And you know, everybody likes money. You know, I saw this video one time, and this guy went on stage, and he walked out there with a whole big old pile of money. And he says, "Oh, I love money. Oh, I love money. Money is a wonderful thing." And the audience was disgusted. They were disgusted. And he said, "Why are you disgusted with that?" Because we've been conditioned to believe that money is bad, that we don't deserve money. He said, "What if I would have brought my little 5-year-old grandson out and I held him and I said, 'Oh, I love my grandson.' You said, 'Oh, that's so wonderful.' But guess what? That money is there to work for you."
That's right. You work hard for it.
You work hard
and
for it.
there's no reason why you should have to be paying it out of your pocket the way this system is set up to keep drawing that money and keep you in a place of not being educated on how to take care of yourself and how to take care of your family and your money. You know, even with small businesses. So what I teach in my credit education is that individuals and business, their credit situation is always there.
Mm-hmm.
So, small businesses, there is so much money. There is so much money for small businesses to be able to start, to be able to grow.
Mm.
It's just a matter of leveraging. It's like when you buy a house. You just don't go write a check to buy a house. You use somebody else's money. You qualify for the mortgage to buy your home.
With someone else's money.
It's called leveraging.
Wow.
You don't, even if you've got the $500,000 to write the check for that house, not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
You leverage it and use somebody else's money in order to make that all work with you, and have that the money that you have from that $5,000 work with you on a whole different level. So you create income, different streams of income, residual income, not just pour it all into one investment.
Wow. So there's strategies that are involved in there,
Yes.
and they're simple. They're not really complicated. They really
You just got to know them.
you just need to sit down and really understand.
Yeah.
Educate yourself. You know, I talk about spending money on things, and I was just actually talking to my wife about this, and you can invest your money in cars, and you can invest your money in houses and boats, but the most important investment you can make is the investment in yourself.
Okay.
Whether it's through education, whether it's through knowledge, investing in yourself has the highest return, has the lowest loss rate, and you will only be better by educating yourself. So this is really something that, if you've ever contemplated, your financial position, contemplate it today and consider this. You need help. We need help. We all need help. Unless you're already independently wealthy, you probably need some financial assistance, guidance.
Well, and you have people, you have people giving you that help. You're not doing that all by yourself.
Yes.
We don't have to do this all by ourselves. We just have to, again, get educated, get empowered, get confident about some information that you know is to be true,
Yes.
and then take the steps to move forward with that.
Yep.
Do you know that 85% of small businesses don't know how important credit is in their businesses?
Mm.
Being able to grow your personal credit, and then learning how to develop that over into business credit so that you eventually separate the two, business credit and personal credit, so that if something happens with your business, your personal credit is not going to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know how to do that. You've got to be able to set that business up for yourself. 17 years ago, I was invited to be a part of a good friend of mine, Cheryl Lucero,
Mm-hmm.
with strategy, key strategy for business success. And she has been teaching people how to start their businesses and how to grow their businesses for 23 years.
Wow.
She asked me to come on to her team, her presentation team, and start teaching this information about moving that personal credit over into business credit, and having them both work for you. We've been doing this for 17 years, and
So you're not a baby in this. You're not just new in this.
No.
Did you hear that, guy? She's done this 17 years.
Yep. And we reach out to the community. We go to inner city kids. We go to tribal. We go to all over Colorado teaching people about these business concepts so they can be clearer about how they want to move forward with their life.
When I talk about a hero, that's what I'm talking about, guys. When we get to a point where we're good and where we're safe and we're prosperous, then we start not handing out, but reaching out and giving people a hand up, or giving people opportunities to find the opportunities that we found ourselves in, to get ourselves a leg up.
You were talking about your parents. My parents didn't know. They didn't have credit. I mean, you might have been able to go to the store and because you didn't have some money right away, there was always a local neighbor, and I grew up in Los Angeles, and in our neighborhood there was a local little store, and if you needed something, you didn't quite have the money, you would go in and you'd sign something, and that you would bring it back, you would pay them back. You shook hands. They didn't have credit.
Wow.
This wasn't even started until the late 60s.
Right.
This credit system.
And at that time, women weren't even allowed to get credit.
No.
Women couldn't even get a credit card.
No.
So we've come a long way.
Yeah, well, and it takes so long for women to get their rights and to get inspired and to. Here's another piece. Women feel like, oh, and I've done it before in a past marriage, allowing my husband just to handle all of the finances and not paying attention.
Wow.
And when that divorce happened, I didn't know. The bank gave me an ATM card. I had no idea what an ATM card was. All I knew was I could go get money and the kids and I could go to McDonald's, you know. At the end of that month, I get a bill for over $400, and I'm flat. I have no idea what this is. I go to the bank. I didn't do this. What is this? I didn't create this. And so they showed me how I did create it. Right?
Wow.
I didn't know about it. But the second piece of that is not only that situation, but the way that banker spoke to me. The way that I felt less than.
Oh.
The way he would talk to me like I was a 6-year-old and that I was illiterate about the situation. I was illiterate about the situation, but he wasn't helping. And I went out in the car and I sat and cried.
Wow.
Women, we have placed ourselves in positions, and sometimes it isn't always a choice, but we get in positions that we allow others to take over and have affluence and have
power and authority.
Power and authority. Thank you for those words. Power and authority.
Yes.
And you know what? Sometimes we think it's easier, but when we get to a divorce or a death or life circumstances happening, losing their homes, losing jobs, oh my gosh, women have got to. It is so necessary for women now, especially, to be paying attention and to be learning about money.
Absolutely. And you know, those of you who follow the show know that I am a feminist. I totally support and encourage women to be educated financially and otherwise, and to gain their place in society where it's a rightful place. You know, because it's been a long time and it's been a long road of I don't want to say oppression, but for lack of a better word, it's oppression of women, and it's continual,
right.
and it's going on today, and it's not slowing down.
No.
I mean, there's you know, fractions of the political parties that literally want to take women back to before they could vote.
That's right.
And so it's a real time to not only just to become enlightened, but to be active.
You're absolutely right, and you know, it has to do with oppression. It also has to do with abuse.
Yes, it does.
And let me give you some information. Did you know that women are paid 83 cents to a man's paid dollar?
That's a disgrace. They have to work till like March 3rd before they can make what the man made all of last year.
That's right.
And this isn't right. This is not right. And they're doing the same work, and yet they're getting paid less. And they get away with it. How? That's a rhetoric. But yeah, because it's
generally women are not well versed in how to access money. Women have less money, so they save less. Women pay more for services and products. People take advantage of you because you're a woman and you're having to get your car fixed.
Look at women's shoes. Look at women's clothing. Look at anything. I don't care if it's even underwear. Everything is escalated and inflated to women. It's baloney, you know. And then half of the crap is invented by men. Which my daughter talks a lot about that, and how unfair this system has been set up, and how it's very skewed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
Don't get me started.
I know, but I got more to get you started.
Golly, keep going.
This is information I want the women listening all over the country, all over the world to pay attention and understand. Women live longer lives than men do. 80% of men die married. 80% of women die single.
Really? Did you hear that? Go ahead.
That's right. 42% of small businesses in the U.S. are owned by women entrepreneurs. In 2022, women started an average of 1,821 small businesses every single day in the United States. And here's a big one. Here's a big one that just knocks me off my feet, and I am so excited about this coming about. Did you know that it is projected by 2030, women are expected to control 30 trillion, with a T, trillion of the financial assets of the United States? That's 2/3 of the entire wealth of this nation.
It's time for women to take their place in society.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just take their place and understand, first of all, how this money system works.
You know, here's what's interesting to me. In spite of all of this, women, we see this continual growth of women and this prosperity, and yet they're still holding them back. They still take only 83 cents to the man's dollar. What is that saying about men? We suck. Sorry. We skew the rules in our favor, and yet the women are still outperforming. And I think it's time for men to take note and to stand up and start saying, you know what, women deserve a place at this table.
That's right, a big place.
A big place, and it's only getting more strong, more powerful.
Let me give you an example of one of I'm going to call her my poster child on the credit side.
Yes.
I worked with a woman named Deborah, and this has got to be 7 years ago. She was living in affordable housing. She had a job. She was working. She was a single mom. But her credit scores were at 420. We're talking really low end of the whole credit scoring system here. 420. She came to the small business, Cheryl Lucetto's small business class, of which I'm a presenter, and she heard me talk about the credit. She came 3 times to that class, not only to learn about setting up, because she was starting her own small business along with her own work, but also to understand what I was saying about credit. We started working together. I coached her. We had solutions. It didn't happen overnight. It probably took around 6 months to start the movement as far as her credit scores are concerned, and things legally being removed from her credit report. And over the course of that time, her points, her FICO score points, went from that 420 score up to over 600.
Man.
I taught her, I coached her on ways that you can build scores every single month without creating any debt.
Wow.
To this day, she maintains an 850 score. She bought a house. She remodeled the house. She was in the house for 3 or 4 years. She sold it when the market was at its top. Her daughter moved to Virginia. She moved to Virginia, was able to buy her house in Virginia with the cash that she made from the house. She leases her cars at 0% interest because of that 850 score.
Man.
The red carpet rolls out when
the doors open.
And doors open when you got that 700, 720, at least that kind of credit score.
Yep. I've noticed a big change, because I told you, 12 years ago I was homeless. I was living in my daughter's bedroom in one corner of the house. All my furniture was in her garage. I had a 560 credit score. I couldn't afford a house, and it worked out where I got a great job. I was able to buy a house. I bought a second house within 3 years, and I had all of a sudden I'm looking at my credit scores up in the high 700s, and it's like, wow, man, I really could do this, and I took the hard road, but there's opportunities out there, and you don't have to, if you're feeling pushed up against a wall, take a look around, because there's opportunities, there's doors that open, there's people who want to help you, and this is one of them.
Thanks. I just got an email yesterday from one of my clients, and I've been his realtor, and we've helped on credit, and he started in low credit scores. And every single month he adds points to his scores the way I've taught him. And I'm not coaching him anymore, but he practiced the things that I've taught him. He sent me a copy of his FICO credit scores. He is at 830. It took him about 2 years to maintain that 830 credit score. It is right here. And guys, look at the tip of your fingers, right there. That's where the solutions are. That's where the credit scores are.
And so many times we go through life and we feel helpless because, oh, my credit score is only 400 or 500. What am I going to do? I'm helpless. I don't have a chance. But that's not true.
That's right.
So, you got to reach out. You got to go and find the people who are wanting to help you, and you have to be willing to. There's some effort, guys.
Absolutely.
Don't kid yourself. This is not just lay a magic egg. This takes some effort, but it's worth the effort. The returns are huge. We're talking long-term benefits.
Well, and this whole financial education information is a mindset. We need to change our mindset. We come from poor families, or we don't come from poor families, or we have this idea about how money looks or how it's supposed to be or how it's not supposed to be. Only those people have it, not me. We need to change the asset and have control of our thoughts.
Yes.
And get information that is moving those thoughts through our brain.
To our advantage.
To our physical advantage.
Yes.
And this is about emotional and mental and physical health. You're all about health.
Yes.
Right? This is all a part of this well-being.
Yes. Oh, man. Absolutely. There's much more than physical health. There's financial health. There's not just emotional health. There's wealth with your estate or with your physical belongings in this world.
With your student loans.
Oh, man.
How many people are stuck with student loans? Major student loans. I have collaborators, and I was telling you this earlier about a client of mine who just met with one of my collaborators. She got her student loan payment down from $700 to $200 a month.
Wow.
And she is within several years, by the programs that they have her connected to, she is within several years of coming to that point where she can have forgiveness on the student loans.
Man, there's hope. There's hope. I know there's somebody out there that's probably at the bottom of the barrel and thinking, what am I going to do? Guys, really pick your head up and smile and look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to call Marlene next week. I'm going to get solutions to this. Give your number one more time, or your website.
Yes, my number is 303-564-3248. I'm Marlena Roseverhill, and I'm a financial educator, first and foremost. I'm all about this community. I named my company Carinosa. Carinosa means to be true of heart. I loved that. And ever since I've had that company, that spirit has moved me toward being grassroots with the community, being able to provide services for their needs, but most importantly for education that they're going to carry from now until they pass. And it's going to benefit them and their children. Something you can pass on to your kids. We were talking, Paul and I were talking about how our families didn't know how to teach us this stuff.
We didn't have any idea what generational wealth was. We never even heard the term.
No. We were looking for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a tortilla with some cheese in it.
I wanted my mom to leave me her tortilla roll and her comal. That's it. I mean, that's my treasures for my mom. But you know what? I do treasure them. But there's more to that. There's so much more to that.
Right. They couldn't teach us something that they didn't know. They couldn't share that on. It is important. Another piece of it that's so important is to make sure that we are passing this information and the way life works financially to our children.
Absolutely.
To our grandchildren. Because there are lots of generational hurts and problems and pain that have gone on before us.
Yep.
We can help cure those and heal those by what we learn and about how we move forward with our lives.
Yeah. Did you know that trauma stays in a generation for 7 generations? So if you have trauma that occurs to you, for example, the pandemic we just went through, that will stay with us for 7 generations. But consider this, there was another trauma, another pandemic 100 years ago.
Oh yeah, the Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu. So in our lifetimes, we have the trauma of 2 of those. And so I guess what I'm saying is, even though you have that trauma, you can be healed from that trauma. You can recover from that trauma, whether it's a past generation or whether it's the generation that we live in now.
That's right. You don't have to live with this. You don't have to stuff it down and not look at it. and not deal with it and
No.
not understand it, because then that gives your body a whole situation that then you become susceptible to to disease, to more
Your stress
trauma,
levels, everything,
abuse,
your
to all
cortisol
of it.
goes up. Yeah,
All of it.
it's horrible and it's brutal and it's not necessary. Hey guys, before I forget, I want to make sure and let you know you are watching KUHS Denver, the stream on Melody Drive, and this is the Weekend Boost, and I'm your host, Paul Lane. We are talking today to Marlene Rose Vigil, and she is a financial counselor. She's a realtor. Hey, if somebody wanted to buy a house, what do they do? If they want to talk to you about, let's say they may always have had a dream and never owned a house, can you help them with that?
Absolutely. Now, we have had the kind of markets that we have never seen before in this country. A couple of years ago, the interest rates went down to 2 to 3%.
Yes.
Yay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And prices went up like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Great benefit for sellers. It was a great benefit for buyers. But that also had problems with it, that
Dynamics.
market.
Yes.
Dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was that people were, and I think, people were just out there competing just for the mere fact to compete for a house. You would have not only 2 or 3 offers, people were having 5, 6, I think the most I ever heard was people having on their home 23 offers.
Above asking price, some of them.
Oh,
I've seen them.
above asking price.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little glip to that above asking process. Let me give you some information about that time, about this glip. The house is worth $500,000. You want this house, and so you offer above asking price. Let's say you offered $25,000, $30,000 more than that price, so you could beat out these other people on their offers. And you won the contract. You got the contract, and now you have to finance it. The lender sends out an appraiser, and the appraiser comes back saying, yep, that house is worth $500,000. But you offered
$525,000.
That's right. They don't finance that extra money, that extra $25,000. You had to come in with it cash.
Yeah.
And people were offering $100,000, $200,000 over asking price.
Wow.
And walking in with those kinds of funds, it had to be cash. You couldn't borrow it. You couldn't. You had to have the money available. And you had to prove, you had to have a paper trail that you had that money available.
That was your money.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow. You know, I went through that. When I bought the house
Did
I'm
you?
in now, the price was here and we offered $5,000 above.
Uh-huh.
And when it got down to the appraisal.
You know firsthand.
Yes, the appraisal, it only appraised what they were asking for the house. And so we were stuck with that $5,000, and what you're saying hit me right between the eyes. But let me tell you what we did.
Tell me.
We told the realtor, look, we did not suggest this. This was your suggestion. So I suggest that you and the other realtor figure it out. We're not paying it. And they took care of
Did
that.
they?
They took $2,500 each out of their commission.
That's good.
I think I'm the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah, no, you are the exception.
But we took it upon ourselves to say, you suggested this. We were offering the full amount, nothing more.
Right.
Anyway, that's so common, and it's not a rarity. It's a very common. Well, it was during that time when that frenzy was going on.
That's the only time, and how long the United States has been tracking this mortgage stuff. That is the only time that those kind of interest rates have ever happened.
Whoa.
If you take all the interest rates over the course of that time period, the average interest rate is 7%,
Wow.
which is close to what we have now. We have a 6.5, 6.7 interest rate. But our mindsets are somewhere else. Our mindsets want to be back at that 2%.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen.
Now there's an interesting dynamic that happens when those rates do come down. What's going to happen with the price of realty?
So this is how it has been happening.
Economically, I should say.
Economically, right. When prices come down, when interest rates come down, prices tend to go up. But right now, Denver has such a market that the interest rates are up. The amount of listings are up.
The inventory.
little, but we usually have 7,500 listings within a period of time, within a year.
Wow.
I mean, at a time. That means every 7,500, 8,000 listings are constantly on the market.
Wow.
We have been down to where we were at 3,000, and now we've moved up to closer to 5,000 listings. But the demand is tight because the inventory is not there. So, RE Colorado, our MLS, is projecting that prices are going to go up another 5%.
Wow.
As far as housing is concerned. The interest rates are going to probably, maybe they might drop a little, but I don't see them dropping probably less than 5.5.
Really?
The place to buy, you know, we can say the place to buy was 2 years ago. Well, we didn't do it. The window for opportunity is right now.
And it really is, because so many private equity firms are buying up these properties. 40% of homes sold were bought by private equity homes in the last couple of years.
Well, the investors are being called in because we have a 4.6 vacancy rate.
Wow.
In the whole city of Denver.
That's low.
That's low.
That's very low.
And Denverites are working.
Wow.
So we have job, we have people wanting to buy houses, and we have these investors coming in. We got a robust market, and it's not going to look like it did. But I have some suggestions. So sellers, you're looking to buy your house. Your realtor pulls up all of the comps and gives you all of the information and gives you their very best information and their very best knowledge about how they're going to market the house and what you're going to ask for a price. And I see every single day in my emails all of these prices that are being reduced because they haven't got the house sold yet.
Wow.
The average time right now for a house to be on a market is anywhere from 38 days to 45 days.
Wow.
Back a couple of years ago, it was less than 24 hours.
Yeah,
was
it was
the
a day
average
or
time.
two.
Yeah. Now we're not playing that game. But I'm making a suggestion that sellers might consider, rather than lowering the price of the house, why not offer some concessions to help buyers purchase that house?
Such as?
Okay, so let's say you got a $500,000 house and you want to lower that by $20,000 and you want to start asking for $80,000. Consider leaving the price at $500,000, but offering the buyers $15,000 or $20,000 assistance to be able, and they can do lots of stuff with that. Okay, they may be able to do some remodeling or repair or put new carpet in, or buy their interest rate down to make their initial purchase at a better interest rate, better premium there.
Wow.
And for the sellers, those concessions can be tax deductible.
So there's a big advantage to that. So being fair really has its opportunity, has a good benefit.
There's an idea, right? If you just drop the price, you're not going to have any tax help with that money that you just lost on.
So you're really counterproductive to do it that way.
It can be. Now, each situation is different. You've got to consider the situation. So this is just a general idea for consideration. And for buyers, here's an idea for buyers. Okay? Consider looking at homes that may need some work.
Yes.
And I'm not talking a big rehab. I'm not talking something that an investor would go in and flip. But I'm talking they may need a bathroom updated or may need some
new roof or some windows.
Something. Yeah. Consider buying that kind of, having a house that work needs to be done. The second thing is, also if you're looking at an area that you want to live in, think outside the box and think just a little bit outside of that area. Check out the homes in the surrounding areas, because eventually those prices are coming up and those areas are all going to be included.
A rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Better to get in than to say, oh, I'll wait, and then go, darn, I should have. Should-haves don't always work. And if it's possible, that's why you need to find a good lender.
So there's several parts of this equation. You need a good realtor. You need someone to educate you. You need a good finance option. And there's a lot of options out there.
Lots.
Yeah, there's a lot of options out there.
And you can get taken. You can get easily taken. There are so many scams, and there are so many people trying to rip other people off. I have a client. He is a wonderful man. He's a single man, mentally challenged, although he is so intelligent. And he needed some money for his rent. He borrowed online $570, okay, to make sure he had enough money for this particular rent. Oh my God, listen to this. That lender, online lender, charged him 777% interest rate.
Shark.
They were taking $150 from each of his paychecks. So every 2 weeks, they were taking $150, $300 a month. If he pays that entire loan off, he will have paid them $3,900 for a $570 loan.
That's predatory, man.
That is predatory.
And it's legal.
Someplace it's legal, and I don't know how that's legal.
Yeah.
Cheryl Lucero and I are working with him to try to find some avenues and try to find some options. I don't know how it's going to come out. I don't know what. But we're looking for the education. We're looking for people to help us. That isn't something that I readily know about, or that she might readily know about. But this man can't be paying that. He doesn't have that kind of money.
Dang.
770% interest rate.
So you got to be really careful where you go to get your resources.
That's right. And so when I'm talking about, if you're going to buy property, right? You're going to buy a house, you're going to buy a flip, you're going to buy property. You need to have a realtor that you connect with, that you get a good gut feeling. There we go with this mindset. Don't just listen to the sales pitch. Look in the person's eyes. See how you feel when you're talking with that person. See if you feel like they're giving you good information. The very first place, even before you necessarily find that realtor, is you got to have a great lender.
Man, you said that. That's the second time you mentioned that. How do you find a good lender?
Well, I always go by referrals. I always go by asking somebody who knows. If somebody asks me about a lender, I give them 3 or 4 different lenders. And I tell them, you go talk to them face to face. I like face to face, I don't like calls. Personally. You get a feel for them, right? You get an understanding of who they are. You get an understanding of what they're telling you. And then you go shop another one. And then you go shop another one. Over the course of 30 days, you can shop as many lenders as you choose to for looking for a good loan for you, and you're only going to have your credit pulled one time.
Really?
You're not going to have your lender pulled by every single one of them.
Oh, I see. You're shopping. You're just shopping.
You're shopping.
Guys, that's what you got to do. You have to be your own representative. There's a term I'm looking for.
Adversary. You got it.
Advocate.
Advocate, that word.
Yeah. You have to be your own advocate, because sometimes it's only in your own hands where you're looking for. Guys, this hour is almost gone. I hope that you've gotten some information. Again, reach out to Marlene if you have questions. Find out what the best options are for you, whether it's repairing your credit, restoring your credit, or whether it's purchasing a home, or whether it's getting financial information. Reach out, find out what opportunities and what options you have, because you have more options than you think, even if you're backed up against the wall.
Absolutely.
I've been there.
Absolutely, I've been there. I've been there more than once.
Yeah, there was a time when I thought I'm going to be a renter for the rest of my life. But I was able to really draw upon what I call the universe, the law of attraction, and I was able to really overcome a lot of that without, just...
Well, here's that man's side. How long are you going to pay somebody else's mortgage?
That's right. Man, if you're renting, You know, I saw a thing that said, you know, the government says I can't afford to buy a house, but they don't mind me paying $2,000 rent.
I saw that. I saw that.
It's really, it doesn't make sense. But guys, oh, go ahead, please.
No. Let me pass on some information. Once a month.
Get your notebook out, guys.
Yeah. Once a month, Cheryl Lucero has a free small business
Seminar.
overall seminar. It's sponsored by NewsEd, and it's happening this Tuesday, March 19th, from 5 to 8:30. I'm part of the team as far as the presenting, so you'll get to hear information about credit and financing. But text me, give me a call if you're interested, because we need to make reservations. But this is a good place, and it's free, to start developing some ideas, to start getting your mind moving here, to start opening the box and look at different places and different people and different things that might be able to help you move forward with what you're trying, with what you would really, really like, how you would really love to have your life.
Yep.
Right? Blissful, well-being, happy.
Content, yes.
Content.
Yes.
Not miserable and, oh my God, how am I going to pay that next bill?
You know, as you go through life, we were talking about this in the parking lot before we came up, about your life's a continuum. And this is the beginning, this is the end, this is the midway point. You may be from here to here, you may be from here to here, or you may be closer to here. Wherever you are in that point, you have more opportunities than you really think, than you understand, and all it is shutting your mouth and open your mind. Sorry, no offense.
And one other point is that I have realized over the course of the last several months and the developments going on in my husband and our family, we only have right now, this moment, at this place, at this time. And in a little bit, we'll have that now, and then we'll have the next now. But how do you want to live this moment?
Exactly.
What do you want to do in this moment to make the next moment good?
Yes.
To make that next moment better.
You know, when you don't build a house, I mean, you don't live in a house that's already built. That house had to be built one brick at a time. And as you're constructing your financial future, it's one brick at a time. It's one day, one class, one seminar. Each time you invested in yourself, you've invested in the greater good for your own self.
That's right.
Guys, Mr. International is coming up, Mr. Paul Chavez, and he's going to put on some sweet music for you. Those of you who don't know Paul, I'm sure you know Paul Chavez has been a Denver personality for many, many years. In fact, all the way back to the days of KDKO, Mr. International is here. He's going to come and put some really awesome music on for you. Guys, you've been watching the Weekend Boost. My guest, Marlene Rose Vigil, is a guide to help you with your financial concerns, with your realty concerns.
Even just a conversation.
If you just want to call and talk, what's that number one last time?
Number is 303-564-3248. And I'm ready to help anybody who in the United States and Puerto Rico that have any questions about this financing education and the credit education and real estate.
All right, guys. You've been watching The Boost. Thank you so much. Up next is Mr. International. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll be talking to Brigitte Mars.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.